Welcome to the Perspective Podcast, where we embrace open dialogue from different perspectives about entrepreneurship, relationships, and education.
And this open dialogue is needed, especially today, as we live in a Twitter finger society where everyone seems to care more about getting their point across than they are about hearing the other person's perspective.
If you're ready to grow your business, your relationships, and your personal development, stick with us here at the Perspective Podcast, because sometimes in life, to get to the next level, you just need a different perspective.
If I look like what I've been through, I'd be roadkill. Tell me off of the pavement, I'm reeking from the...
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Perspective Podcast. I'm C. Mouzon. Got T here with me. Say what's up, T.
Bang, bang! What's
bang,
up? Sorry, that's our thing. Everybody's looking like, what is going on with this guy?
now that we have guests, it's awkward. Normally, it's just me and T, so we can do that. But now that we invite people on, it makes it a little awkward, T. But we're going to figure that out, guys. Hey, for all the listeners, hey, we got a real special one for you today. As always, we like doing things a little bit different. You know, now that we're in this season 3, now that you get a chance to see us on video, because before it was all audio, we want to start bringing you some new faces, some fresh conversations. And today is definitely going to be a good one. We have some friends with us today, the most people we've ever hosted on the Perspective Podcast.
We didn't even know if we can do this, like exactly. Before we had everybody say yeah.
I know, right? We were having that text conversation last night, like, is this going to work? I don't know. But either way, we're here. And so we're going to jump right in because we want to give these guys some time to talk, because it's going to be a great conversation. T, jump in, introduce a couple of our guests to the audience.
Well, I'll start with Addrisa. Me and Addrisa just met. So it's kind of like, you know, this is like fresh and just going to be a truly authentic, because I don't know what she's going to say, right? But no, Addrisa's on. I'm so happy for her. She's actually a good friend of my wife's best friend. And Addrisa is, she has a master's degree in social work, and she's a professor of sociology. And she says she is super single. So this is going to be a good conversation to have. And also, she is a poet for sure. So we may have her at the end, drop some poetry on us. I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there first off. Then second, I'm going to introduce Jessica. Jessica is my wife's best friend as well. Seems like my wife got a lot of single friends. So, you know, be paying attention to that, right?
Another episode.
Should my wife have single friends? No, I'm joking. We should have Kevin Samuels on for that one, right?
Yeah.
Right. But we have Jessica here, at the Tech Barbie as her handle there. Good friend of my wife. She is an entrepreneur, one of the most go-getting people that I know, and I follow on social media. So, you know, it's a pleasure to have you, Jessica, as well.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Welcome, ladies. And I have the pleasure of introducing 2 gentlemen with us today. First, I'll start with Terrance. Terrance and I got a chance to connect, 3, 4, 5 months ago. I don't know, 6 months ago. It's been right. Some time, man. I've been watching this guy's hustle. He's got a great podcast out that he continues to just drop gems. If you follow him, or if you don't, you should be following him on Instagram. But I wanted to have him on this conversation. So thanks so much for joining us, Terrance. Appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Absolutely. And then my guy, we're talking about calling him Lawrence, but really we all know him as LD. That's
El Dorado.
El Dorado. You guys, for all the listeners, you all know that me and T played college ball together. Well, this is another one of our college teammates, best friends, great guy, just awesome dude. We wanted to have him in this conversation also. So LD, welcome to the convo, brother. Appreciate you being on.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So we're here, 6 of us. Let's get to the convo. There's a gentleman that's out right now that is a little polarizing, has definitely caught some media attention, definitely got some wind, definitely in the zeitgeist in culture. We felt like we needed to have a conversation about the man, Kevin Samuels. If you don't know his name, give him a quick Google. But, it's pretty easy to find on Instagram, pretty easy to find on YouTube. But again, he's got a lot of different takes. Some people say he's very helpful. Some people say he's not helpful at all. And like I said, it's all about polarizing. So real quick, I want to ask each of the people that are on, how did you first hear of Kevin Samuels? Before T jumps into some questions and really the dialogue, let's just see, how did you first hear about him? Addrisa, let's start with you.
when his post went viral about him telling the woman that she was going to die alone, so that she was average at best and she was going to die alone. So I watched it, and yeah, that was my very first introduction.
How long ago was that?
About 3 months or so ago.
Months, okay. Got you. Jess?
Okay, this is what I have to say to that.
We drink it already. We
must need to take a sip before talking about this individual. So the first time, of course, I haven't seen anything positive about him. The first time I saw him, my sister showed me a post with him going in on a woman, and I believe being like emotionally abusive. And that's the first time I saw him. And yeah, that is a piece of work there. But I'll save my comments.
Absolutely. We will definitely get into it. Terrance, what do you think, man? When's the first time you came across
I've heard about him about 3-4 years ago when he was pretty much talking about men and what men need to do. So I've been following him for quite some time now.
He wasn't as big. He wasn't as big on Instagram. He was more YouTube, or where?
Right. Yeah, he was more YouTube-ish. He talked about a lot of like how guys should like present themselves, how what type of fragrance to wear, how you should duck yourself. So it was a lot about more as fellas enhancement, their lifestyle and how they should be. And then he turned it and switched it to women.
Got it. Cool. LD. When did he hit your radar?
Actually, believe it or not, he just have. Really, I'm not. I'm just seeing some of the content that was given to me, and then I do have some opinions on it. I would say probably mostly on the bad side than good. But yeah.
Can't wait to unpack these opinions.
Let's do it. T, jump in, man.
All right. So am I giving when I first heard too?
Yeah. Why not?
I was ready to go to the questions. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so
yeah, if you want to, whatever.
Right, we'll do that. So I'll give for all the listeners, right? So people don't start hating me. Because this is the Perspective podcast, right? We all can't have the same perspective, right? And sometimes me and Chris, we actually do agree on some things. And so one of us has to choose to be on the other side to ask the question. So for the sake of argument, I am raising my hand and saying, I am going to attempt to defend Kevin Samuels today in this conversation, right? I'm just going to ask some critical questions. So please, if I'm asking questions, there may not be my actual opinion, but I'm just curious to hear, some of the thoughts around it. I'll play the part, okay?
So a true debate.
Yeah. Let's like, okay, let's consider this, right? And I'll try to unpack the abrasiveness and let's get to the core meat and content of the questions, right? And so that'll be where I take a stand on, because as Terrance said, like he started off having a conversation to men, right? Because he's a fashion consultant, right? Like he tells you that's what he is. And so fragrance, clean, dress, sharp. Like I've seen him in pictures before, like things on Instagram. I was like, man, that's a sharp looking brother, right? You know what I mean? Like, okay, I see that. I see them shades. Okay, I might cop some of those. So that's kind of how I first kind of saw him. But then he switched it to women. But he said the reason why he switched it to women was actually to help men. He started seeing the problem being not the men stepping their game up, but he saw it as the problem of, women aren't prepared for these men that I'm helping build, right? Y'all laughing.
Whatever you saying about him, Jessica ain't buying it, okay? You can put it on the clearance rag, Jessica.
Hey, look,
okay?
Look. Everybody has to have their lawyer in court, right? Even if it's crazy. So I'm gonna be the lawyer in the courtroom. I'm the one gonna try to defend some of this stuff today. All right, I'm gonna try to unpack it. So, all right, so that's it. I'm gonna set it up that way. All right, so everybody laughing
because this is going to be insane.
This is gonna be all right. So let's have some fun with this. All right, welcome to the Perspective podcast. All right, so. We all watched a couple videos just for some consistency, right? Because he has a lot of content, right? So there's a lot of things out. So we watched a couple videos. One was about your your SMV, your sexual marketplace value, and then the other one essentially was about, do you want to be right or do you want to have a man, right? And I'm gonna start with because I got some hums on that one, so I'm gonna follow the crowd. Do you want to be right or do you want to have a man? right? And so there's this concept that he's talking about, and I'll start with Addrisa on this one. So ultimately, it sounds like he's saying, hey, look, there's something about you having an opinion about something that may not get you the result. Are you willing to adjust your opinion to get the result you say you want? So I'll lead it off with that.
So you know what? Before listening to both those videos last night, I couldn't stand him. I thought he was abrasive. I thought he was harsh. I thought he was ridiculous. Those videos changed my perspective a little bit on him.
Okay.
So, and I asked the question to myself, and I was like, "Yo, I think the problem is I want to be right. I want to be right all the time." And a lot of just reflecting on a lot of things that, like, I don't know how to just sometimes let it go. Like, just, okay, so it's like, no, but because, like, even a lot of times he would ask questions like, well, it's a yes or no question. And women, we just want to be like, well, it's yes and no because, blah, 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 blah. And one woman, he asked the question and she was like, well, those are my only options. And he like, yeah. She's like, well, I could live with a cat. And it's like, you doing too much. So it, as much as I don't, want to agree to some extent, I understand the perspective. Like, you don't always have to be, and this is the best word I can come up with, is combative. Like, everything can't be a thing. You got to pick and choose your battles. And for me, that's still a area of struggle for me. So I do want to be right, but not all the time. I'm willing to, kind of dial it down a little bit, I guess. I'm a work in progress, though.
Okay, I like that. All right, so let's hear. So, also, I'm sorry, I meant to say, I appreciate that, and that's good. But everybody outside of me and Chris is single, right? So we want to talk to single people.
Literally about to give that context.
Yeah, sorry.
Everyone didn't understand, right? Me and T didn't feel like we could be in a place to fully have this conversation, even though it's important. But we need to hear from the single people like that go through this, that like would think about it the way, because a lot of the people that typically are asking these questions are single, right? Like,
yeah, or not just, or we could say not married. Like, we don't want to mess up like boo things on the side or something else. Like, we don't know the situations out there, right? You know what I mean? So
I'm surprised that two married guys are having this conversation.
Why?
Yeah, I would think so, because you would have the better experience of what that perspective would be like,
But we have the same one, right? Like, that's it. Me and T have the same perspective of it,
right?
Because we're married.
Did you talk to your wives before y'all had this?
Oh, 100%. It was my wife that was like, it was like, yes, let's most definitely have this conversation.
All right, okay.
So Terrence, let's get a guy's perspective, single guy out there. Like, how do you feel being a single Black man, right, out there dating? And is there a feel that women feel like they need to be right?
Yeah, it is. I think it's the communication factor. I think a lot of this really has to do with communication. When you talk, I talk, you talk, right? And I think that there's nobody coming into common ground because we have so many distractions. Everybody has a formulated an opinion. And it's causing this mass confusion between who's right, who's wrong, who should be this, who should be dominant, who's not. And it's getting everybody in this world twine or whatever. Okay, Kevin wants to go off of facts, right? And that's fine. He wants to go off of facts. Some people are not geared to maybe listening to facts. You can speak facts, maybe you have to sympathize with the person that you're with because they may not take things overtly so, transparent. You have to be sympathetic to the person that you're with. And I think that when he does that, it comes off very harsh to certain people and they feel upset about it. But you got to think about it if you your parents tell you something, if you can't, if your parents tell you like, look, you don't know how to spell, you need to practice on that. Would you take offense to it? Or would you start learning how to spell? So is he trying to come up as that father, harsh, not trying to be harsh, transparent person? And I think is abruptly making people feel very offended by it, which I clearly don't, because what he's saying is semi-true, to a degree that people need to hear. But the people who are getting offended are the ones who have, some people that are getting offended by it are the ones that is some truth behind what he's saying. So it hurts them. I can't get offended from it because he's right in some of the things that he talks about. So we have to understand where he's at and what he's saying actually, and not feel offended. Because a lot of people have said a lot of things in movies, music that offended women and men all the time. So why is it so important that this guy's getting so much attention from this standpoint? If he's trying to come from a good perspective, when we hear a lot of a negative perspective on music, the great women all the time, and I see women dancing to it, and I'm just like, so what's the point that this man is getting the attention? You know why? Because it's a truth behind what he's saying, and it's hurting, and he's coming from a very smart way, and it's getting a lot of people upset, and that's all that is. That's all it is. The ignorant factor of what, F this, women this, and then on that, people don't feel offended by that because they feel like, oh, he's saying what he's bad, but I'm still dance to this music though, but that's not who I am. Let me shake my ass. You get what I'm saying?
I hear you. I hear you.
Jessica,
Okay.
jump in, please. I was going to you
Thank
next.
you. I was ready to jump in. So I feel like it depends on where the person is coming from. No, I do not think he's coming from a place of peace, a place of love, a place of care. I feel like he is coming from a place of judgment. When he asked the question, do you want to be right, have a man, or live with a woman for the rest of your life? First of all, life is not one or two options. Life is very gray. So to force people into a box of saying, do you want to be right or do you want to have a man? That's insane. People want to be right, not women, people. There are men who want to be right. There are women who want to be right. Both sides needs to work on their issues, not one. And the problem I have with his content is that it's very one-sided, as if men don't display these behaviors as well, as if men don't have a lack of communication problem as well. There are problems on both sides. And if it was men being bashed in the video by a woman, the men will have a lot to say about it. But the fact of the matter is that is on women right now. And he is focusing on Black women in particular. Me, I want the right man. Every man isn't for every person. So the right person, everyone should be working on themselves. But I want the right person. I don't have to be right all the time. But you're not going to always be right. He's not going to always be right. A woman is not beneath a man. How can you be a feminist and say that a woman's place is beneath a man? He called himself a self-proclaimed feminist, but he also said a woman is beneath a man. If you cut open the brains of a man and a woman, you will not be able to tell the difference between the two. We were both given the same mental skills. Some people have a low IQ, some people have a high IQ. Some people are more street smart, some people are more book smart. That is a people thing. It's not a man thing. It's not a woman thing. And the problem I have with his content is that it's specifically targeting and bashing women. Does a man want to be right or alone or with his bros for the rest of his life? Does a man want a wife? Or does he want to be right and with his bros for the rest of his life? So these are things within this culture as people that we have to deal with. And in regards to the music part, I do agree with that. I do agree that people do dance to music that is, vulgar. But I don't agree with this man, because that's a whole nother conversation for me. But I don't agree that this man is coming from a place of love. You can't be emotionally abusive to people and come from a place of love. And this is not coming from just the video I saw yesterday, the first initial video I saw, and the poor woman, she seemed very like she was taking his wacko advice to heart because she trusted an elderly man to give her some solid advice. But it does not, coming from a place of love does not make people feel bad. You can be truthful, but this man has lots of issues. He even said on the show that he doesn't even operate in love. He talked about his aunt being alone, not messing her whole life up and being alone. Now he got to take care of her. So his pain is deeper than what this conversation is about. But he projects his truth as if it is everyone's truth. And it's not. And you cannot put people in a box and say either this or that, no other options, or I'm going to hang the phone up on you. And overtalk people. He overtalks people quite often and hangs up on them if they don't say what he likes. He has a control problem. So there's lots of things I have, and lots of women feel this way about this individual. I don't think this is a man of integrity. That's my opinion.
Okay.
And LD, what you got? What you got on this?
I agree with Jessica on that. I mean, I don't have a daughter, obviously. But when I think about things like this, I think about how my dad would speak to my sister, and the way he goes about it to me is just, you can be very truthful, and sometimes it can come out harsh. But on the back end of it, there still has to be some love and tenderness. So she's reaffirmed about herself and understands. Yeah, there's some fear out there, but but at least she's not be prepared for it. This guy, to me, I believe he's speaking some truth, but it just comes out a little too harsh for me.
Are we? Let me actually group this. Anybody can jump in here. And as a communicator, I do believe it's very important to be effective in your delivery as it is in content. However, do you agree that, or could you agree that sometimes we just got to get these facts on the table to deal with this situation we have now, and we need to leave? It doesn't really matter the package because it's that severe.
Whose facts are they though? And on what side are the facts for?
But that's what I was gonna say. Like he said, sorry to cut you off, Jessica. My apologies. Like LD said, he said, he thinking of if he had a daughter, right? But he's not our father. That's not his role, right? Obviously, you would be more gentle with your daughter, but he's just some random man. He don't gotta be gentle.
But this is the question. Not to cut you off. I'm sorry. Why is it everybody giving him so much attention? If this guy is teaching false teachings and all these facts, why is it that he's getting so much attention around? Why is he getting attention?
Because of the media.
It's also
the media supports negative news. The media, number one, there's millions of people on the street who are doing amazing things in their community, who are stand-up individuals. Does the news cover them? The news covers the people who are always doing something bad or are provocative. So that is why he has so much attention.
So he has attention. Negative energy. Right. So he has attention, right? But this goes back to what I'm saying. It's a lot of people out there have done and said negative things that are getting attention and people glorifying.
There's a lot of celebrity males.
There's a lot of celebrities that get glorified.
Especially Chris Brown. Like there's so many people who still love him. We give him grace. We give grace to who we want to give grace to, right?
You know what? I'm single. I'm 38. So me growing up, right? Every movie I've seen or anything that I've watched, I've always seen things, emasculating the black man. Is like even those Tyler Perry movies, anything. Every time I watch a Tyler Perry movie, I cringe. Because every time I watch it, it's always showing either he's gay, he got a disease, or he's doing something bad. It never puts him in a position of where he's successful.
And I totally agree with you.
Ever does. It's like every time I watch something or talk shows that are on later on in the middle of the daytime, and who's always cheating? The man. Who's always doing something? The man. And then as you grow up, and I was raised by my grandmother, you're growing up, and you're thinking to yourself, you have to do this and you have to do that, until I start formulating my own mind and start seeing things from an other side of it. Like, you know what? Some of these things, I can disagree with for certain things with women because no, that's not right and that's not right. I'm not saying everything that he's saying is right, but for some of the things as a man, you can't get into a full relationship with any woman until you got your stuff together. You can't.
I totally agree with that.
So this is the thing. So why is it that, answer this question, why is it that every time I hear a woman talk and I hear about, well, he cheated on me and he was locked up and he was in jail and I'm in school and I'm trying to do better, but then you have this guy who is in school, is doing great, but y'all don't want them. He's a little too
don't
nice.
Say y'all.
Well,
don't say
y'all. You can't put everybody in the same boat. That's the problem. People are not monolithic. You cannot put everybody in the same boat. Maybe that is the experience. Listen, maybe that is the experience that you have been through. Maybe that is your truth, but that doesn't mean people need to stop putting their truths on everybody else and start and learn.
So your truth, you're saying your truth, right? You're saying your truth.
My truth is I don't believe in bashing men. My truth is I don't believe in bashing men, but I don't feel like a woman, and I'm talking about Kevin Samuels in particular, because that's what we're talking about. But I don't believe that a woman needs to be put down to build up a man. I don't believe you need to put down somebody else to build somebody else up. And that's what there are some truths. There are some truths, but everything a person says is not going to be true. That may be their truth. You got to accept that this isn't therapy. Your truth may not be someone else's truth. Everyone's truth is not the same. I can't say from the things I went through in my life that these are my truths, but the girl next to me, that may not be her truth. She may not have been through those things, but I can't say all women are the same.
Real quick.
And you can't say all men are the same.
Chris, go ahead, jump in real quick.
Let me jump in real quick, because I think this hits a point of, and again, the debate is
the lack of
because this is what Kevin said. This is what we see when Kevin Samuels goes live, and then we start to see, right, how men and women think differently. The reason T and I wanted to, again, have this conversation outside of us is because, like, in marriage, like, you start to understand how the other person thinks. And all this is a lack of understanding of how a man thinks and how a woman thinks.
And
right?
it's different.
Yes,
It's so different. And I that's the thing, like, sorry to cut you off, but like, that's the thing about being right. Like, I'm realizing I don't necessarily want to be right, but I want somebody to understand how I could feel the way I do, how my upbringing may have me think the way I think. And I'm open to shifting that thinking. So that's why maybe I'm in a different, because I'm in a different place now. I'm a little bit more open to what he's saying. Again, his delivery may be, it's about, like you said, this is called the Perspective Podcast, right? So it's about perspective, how you perceive something. So my perception of him is not that he's not my father. I'm not looking for him to be my dating coach, but I am open to hear, okay, maybe if I can get out my feelings and really get some logic going, okay, you know what? I could see some things he's saying, especially when it comes to, I'm not a man. So only a man can tell me how to be with a man. So, okay, I'm going to be open to him. I'm not listening to him to build my self-esteem, though. That's not I'm going to go to a woman to do, right? So I think it's just a little different.
Okay.
What, LD, what you got on this, right? Like what's your, like, hearing all of that, like, where you at with that?
Again, I really don't feel that, in the way, I just really don't believe in the way he's, he comes across. It just, to me, is just.
But LD, listen, man, you are an athlete as a man, right? You're an athlete. Did you give two shits of how somebody coached you and what they said? Did you go home like, I can't listen to him because he yells at me too much? Like that, just from a man. And again, this is where, because he's talking to a woman, we understand how to be softer to women. But if we were just talking about men, like how we think, how we talk, factual, just straight to the point, in athletes, right? You played sports.
Well, let me switch that, because I know where you're going with that, but I'll go to it as being as a manager. I had a lot of managers, men or women, that I did not agree with how they treated me through my process of going through my career. And so I took those things and I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do when I get the opportunity. And very recently in the job I was with I was trying to mentor this one particular kid who trying to go up. He's trying to be in school and trying to get to the next level in school, play basketball and such. And I'm trying to tell him certain things, and he was still messing up and such. So yeah, there was times that I give him some hard facts, but also reaffirm him that there's, this actual support, and so
it's
and I believe that he wasn't really getting that kind of support. And I think that the same thing here is when you're on, I mean, to me, is him being a celebrity to me. But if you're on a platform, it's your responsibility to, yes, give out facts, all right, but also assure them. So if we're here to better, make people better, not to break them down so much that they're not hearing the message.
I have a question, right? I have a question, and I think this is like the core of it. And I think, Jessica, you said it first, like indirectly, so I'll come back to it. When I said Kevin Samuels feels like there's a problem and we need to deal with this problem, and depending on the problem is how aggressively we attack it, right? God forbid somebody has cancer, well, we get aggressive with chemo, right? We get aggressive with things. If I have a sprained ankle, I don't need surgery, I need ice, right? So the question I have is, in the Black community, do you feel like we have an actual problem when it comes down to marriage being the foundation of our community, family, that way? Do we have a problem?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
We're putting a
like,
Band-Aid on a surgery wound.
I feel like we do have a problem, and I feel like it's due to the lack of families, your kids growing up not seeing positive family figures. There's a lot of people who grew up who didn't have a father in their house. Number one, that is a problem. There's a lot of people who grew up and seeing their parents fight all the time. That is a problem. There's a lot of people who grew up in households where people cheated all the time. That is a problem. What that does to a kid is make them feel insecure about relationships, that they can't trust another person with their feelings. They can't trust another person to be there for them. They can't depend on them because they've never seen that in their life. So as adults, we have to become active in retraining our mind, just like poverty is a mindset. That is a mindset too, and retraining our minds to be more like, I want a relationship. Let me surround myself with people who have healthy relationships, similar to a job or a career. You want to be the top of your profession. You need to surround yourself with those people. You in a relationships, you need to surround yourself with people who have healthy, happy relationships, not people who's like, oh, I hate being this, I hate being that, but people who are actually happy. But these kids have a disservice because some of these kids are growing up in severe poverty. Some of these kids, are raising themselves, which number one gives them, a disadvantage as an adult. Who is mentoring these kids? Who is going back to these communities and talking to these kids and wondering why we have a problem with family? And then we allow the media to shape our opinions in regards to what we value. We value gangster life. We value hot girl summers. This is what we value. We're allowing the media to shape that, where we need to be shaping our own narrative. So the problem with the family, the Black family, is not a topic of conversation in media. And these kids today watch media. These kids today look at television and they're on the internet. But it's the adults in their lives, the ones who need to show them the problem. But I feel like a lot of people in this generation, millennials, Gen Zs and stuff, had the short end of the stick in regards to seeing relationships.
On a scale of 1 to 10, and I meant to ask this up front, 10 being absolute crisis, 1 being nothing, what would you rank this problem that you just defined?
I will rank it as an 8.
Okay. And I'm gonna go through the list. I'm gonna go through and everybody have that. Lawrence, what would you rank the problem? Uh-oh, did he freeze?
No, he's thinking.
Okay, 7.
Okay. He was so still. I was like, he must have froze. Oh, I love LD. Addrisa, what would you rank the problem?
Oof, I'm like an 8, 9. I'm gonna go with 9.
9, okay.
Yeah.
Terrance, what would you rank the problem? 10. All right, so we got, or LD, you said 7, right? Like, I'm sorry, make sure. Did I hear 7?
7.
7, right?
7, 8.
7, 8. So 8 or 7? Which one? Pick one.
8.
8, fantastic. All right, cool. So, right, so 8. So we all rank this as a pretty serious problem.
Right.
So at what level of aggression, using the cancer example, do we want to attack this problem?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
And he mentioned he said something that, like I said, the 2 things that I listened to last night really shifted for me, because he mentioned how, when you have a surgery, he was talking to a woman with locks, and he was like, when you have a surgery, they give you pain medicine when you tell them the number, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and then he went on to say, then you go down to Tylenol, because, you're at a lesser pain level. So right now, if it's at a 9, or even an 8, like Jessica said, I think it needs to be a bit more aggressive with our approach. So I think that's why he does it the way he does. Again, I'm not saying that I love him now. I never said that.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think I'm coming from a place to try to understand what he's saying and try to, like I said, just try to, again, get his perspective on, love, relationships, and family.
Terrance, what you got, man? You over there, right? Taking notes and everything. What you got, Terrance?
Because it's I still just refer back, even still to like how this person is getting so much attention. The only reason why is because only people that get like that get attention. There has to be some truth behind what he's saying. I mean, we could argue this factor for a long time, but it goes to say, and I'll just keep reframing going back. If we glorify these rappers that say the things that they say, we spend money for their tickets, there's no difference, and he can't be that much of a bad person if we having a discussion about it, right? That's number one. Number two, let's talk about the marriage situation, right? So I think marriage is a beautiful thing. But I think in today's society, what happens is that a lot of people, and he talked about this too, about marriage, nothing spiritual about marriage in today's society. I'm not saying that people don't get married on the spiritual level, but you always hear is that I want kids, I want this wedding. It's never about what you guys want. And it's like, if it's that serious, if you guys really want to get married, I'm not saying you can't have a ceremony, but you can go downtown and go down there and get the that. And I run into a lot of women that tell me what they want. Oh, my wedding want to be this. I want to play this song. And I'm like, damn, well, what about the guy? Are you going?
He said men don't want weddings, that women
we don't.
do.
Well,
that's not accurate.
I can't speak for these two men, but I can speak for myself and honestly say, I don't want to have a big ceremony with a lot of people. That's not how I view marriage. I'd rather just be peacefully, just me and that person, and just share that bond. I'm not saying that you don't want to do it, family and friends. I'm not opposing that. That's just my opinion.
I think it's a double catch-22, right?
That's why I said my opinion. I don't knock it.
Because I think you want to share, right, your love with others, and you want to inspire others. But right, you can do that at the courthouse. I get it. I'm not saying I think it's between the couple, but I do get the idea of like, okay, I want to have this ceremony with family and friends to inspire others that love still exists, and you can have that. But
having a good marriage is being inspiring, showing and setting the example is the good.
Okay.
Jump in really quick.
Yes, I'm ready to jump in now.
Yeah, jump in.
So my question is, I feel like, again, we're talking about people being monolithic as if everybody thinks the same. I really feel like people should marry the right partner based on themselves, that right partner fit for them. Somebody may not want to have a wedding. You may not be with that. You marry people who have common goals. There are some people who actually want to have weddings, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with knowing your wants and desires. There's nothing wrong with having desires and wants and goals and dreams. Just because someone else doesn't believe in those dreams doesn't mean that you shouldn't have them for yourself or base your whole worth and what you do into someone else. So my second thing in regards to people, all these women, what Kevin Samuels is saying is true, which facts are actually true. I will not say everything he say is a fact. I will say that it is opinion based on his experiences that he's been through in his life. Everyone has experiences. Some women have been through horrible experiences with men. Horrible. That doesn't mean that is the fact about all men. Just because they went through that in their life. And like, who are you surrounding yourself with? What type of friends do you have in your circle? Are your friends support what you're doing? It's just kind of like putting everybody in a box. Every woman isn't the same. We don't look the same. We don't dress the same. We don't act the same. We don't think the same. Just like every Black person isn't the same. Right. Every woman isn't the same. The problem with Kevin Samuels is that he does not come from a place of love. The problem is the women who do go on there for his support, to learn from him, which he would never be a mentor or anyone I would recommend to talk to, because he's too negative. There's nothing wrong with telling the truth, but you have to be able to listen to people. I've seen him on videos break people down, and I can hear in their voice that they actually believed him. And I would say to those women that you don't build your self-worth based on someone else's opinions of you. You grow your self-worth based on how you feel about yourself. Everybody has to grow. Everyone has to evolve in life, but that don't mean that one person's opinion, that's like being in an abusive relationship and someone saying, you ain't never going to be nothing. You ain't never going to have nobody ever going to want to be with you. That's to me how he sounds, like an abusive relationship.
Is that how he sounds, or that's how he is?
Well, I don't know him. I can't speak on who he is.
I think that's your perception of him.
It's your perception of him.
I cannot speak on who he is because I don't know him.
Exactly.
So we can't say that.
Right. It's all about perspective.
None of us.
So I got
this
one more
is my
question.
Opinion, and that's how I feel.
Yeah. Well, I got another question real quick. I got a question. All right, so I want to transition because we're getting tight on our time really quick. I got a question. Chris, you want to throw something in really quick? And I'm gonna transition with a different question to kind of like segue, and then we kind of wrap it. But go ahead, Chris.
I had a few things just specifically on, not everything he says is fact, right? Like, let's just get to that bottom line. And a lot of it is opinion, but the fact that men try to make, and the reason why I say men, and I understand, just like, we're not monolithic. I'm not like any other man, but this is when it starts to go into, like, I've been married going on 10 years, right? Been with my wife faithfully for 13 years, right? So there's a different way that I kind of look at what I try to explain and where I come from, right? Fact that he talks about often is the need that women have for men in, like, not just society, but like as like human beings, right? Like how he always gets back to this fact of, like, men made the world, right? Like, men created, like, we did the hard work. Like, if you go back to ancient times, like, men hunted and, like, women took care of the home. Like, it's just ancient kind of how we operate as a species. And the facts that he tries to make a lot of times come down to, if you either believe in God and you believe, if you're a Christian and you can understand, like, how God says we are supposed to live, and how, right, like, a woman is a helpmate, right? Like, how that works. Or if you just believe in the world, right, and just how that works, how evolution is, and how men have taken that role. Those are facts, right? Those are the factual things. Everything that gets built on top of that becomes opinion of, like, how we should be. But, like, those are some factual things. And I've heard him make statements and say things about, I heard him in one of those videos talk about women, especially as they get older, how they need more and more money, and where that's going to come from in retirement. If you just make $50,000 a year as a woman all the way out, and you don't have money for retirement, right? Like, I'm a financial professional for the past 9 years. Like, I lift up the hood under, like, our people's lives, and that's actually very, very factual. That's a very, very factual statement. So that's just one piece of it. Not everything he says is factual, but as a man, we think out of facts. Like, it's like, it's this or it's that. It's this or it's that. So that's all you're
saying. Women, we don't think that way.
Well, let me think that way. That's why there's a disconnect.
Well, I do think out of facts.
But not primarily, because the woman's brain is completely different.
Let me go ahead. Let me add a perspective to that.
How is a man going to get to, if he makes $50,000 a year? What is he going to do at 90?
It's the same. You're right. You're 100% right.
Okay, so there we go. There we go. We're not talking. It's not just a woman.
But typically, the man, unless he loses drive, has the ability to go be a trucker, do something with labor.
Women do too. There are women truckers. There are women stagehands. There are women construction. And actually, the Black woman is has been, the biggest boom in entrepreneurship is the Black woman in America right now. Therefore, women are making a lot of money. And not saying that you don't need a man just because you make money. Like, what he talks about makes no sense. If nobody plans for their future, they will be short when they get older.
No, it's
not saying that you got to.
Let me jump in.
I think he's talking about, like, survival.
Yeah.
But can a man survive without a woman? He said a woman cannot survive without a man.
He said a woman cannot survive.
I do too. But he said, I'm talking only about what he said. He said that a woman cannot survive, will die without a man. That's what he said. I'm only talking about his words. I'm not talking about what is the truth. And I feel like,
as an evolution, like as a species, that's been true though.
No, so you saying that a woman who has the same mental intellect. Have you seen Naked and Afraid? I mean, he talked about the woman going to the water source because she said she'll drink the water, she will die, but a man wouldn't do that. But on Naked and Afraid, like, does he know how to make a fire from sticks and some rocks? Does he know how to build a shelter? Does he know how to go catch game? Does he know how to fish and make sure he can survive in the wilderness? So this is not just about, what I don't like is that it's just only focused on women. This is people things. People need to know how to do things. We need each other. Men need women, women need men. Not women just need men. That is not, and if you talk about the Bible, that is not just, or he would have made two men. Men need women, women need men. The same thing. It's not one way. It's not one-sided.
Perfect. It's a perfect segue. All right. That's a perfect, you know what? We'll put a pin. I'll put a pin because I was going to ask another question, but as I think about it, as an effective communicator and someone trying to, work this stage, we ain't gonna finish on time. and here goes the thing. We all knew that we weren't going to finish. This is not a conversation that completes today. This is not a conversation that completes in a week or a month. This is a generational conversation. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
It builds.
But it builds, right? 100%.
But I think that's the point, T, really quick.
Yeah.
The point is we're having the conversation. Yeah. And I've heard Terrance say this, right? Like there's got to be something here if we're up to having, if it's this far apart, if it's this, we have to have it, then obviously it's an important conversation. We just got to get, what I would love to get to are solutions.
Correct.
Solutions.
Correct.
That's the key.
And here goes the thing. We've had some solutions here, presented here, right? Like people listen through. And I will say this, and this will kind of be like our, like kind of finishing up, you know, from our perspective. I haven't given mine. I'm gonna hold mine because it's interesting. But think about what we just did, right? For our audience that's listening, that just heard this, right? There were times where it felt very cordial. Then there was times where it was like, hold up, bro, what you talking about? Hold up, sis, what you talking about? And we took something that essentially Kevin Samuels was talking about, brought it to a different level, had a different means of having the conversation, and we had this conversation, right? Like nobody got clicked off, right? Like we weren't gonna do that anyway, right? So that's this disclaimer, right? Nobody got clicked off or anything of that nature, but we had this conversation. We had a conversation about something tough. We had a conversation about something we all agreed. As a married man who's been married almost 14 years now, right? Like this is a serious conversation. I'm not thinking about this for myself because I'm figuring some stuff out. And I will say at 14 years, I'm still figuring a whole lot. Every time I go another year, I'm like, damn, I need 10 more years of knowledge, right? Like, like I thought I figured it out. And as soon as I do, my wife is like left and I'm like, whoa, right?
That's the key. Like,
right?
Like just, single people are super selfish. You guys are super selfish.
God, why you gonna open up a can of worms like that, Chris? No, you about to end this same thing.
That can be your opinion.
I'm not even going to entertain that.
No, we're not going to entertain that.
That can be, that's your opinion.
So how about this? How about this? Because this is such a great conversation. Because this is such a great conversation. Okay. I would want to have everyone consider, and we can work this offline, coming back and let's having this conversation again. I feel like this is a good panel, a good conversation. As you can hear, a lot of different perspectives. Even Chris says some stuff that he knows is cringeworthy in the back of my mind, but I have to be the moderator of this conversation and not to jump in on some things, but that's fine, right? And here we go. We had a perspective podcast about a hard topic that we all agree is a very serious problem within the Black community. There is no one size solution fits all. And we understand that there's complexity. And our goal with this podcast has always been to talk about complex conversations, but then come up with practical solutions for how that happens. So, I want to thank everybody. I know we're on a time constraint. So people are probably listening like, oh my God, I wish there was more of this, right? Like, I want to see Jessica body slam somebody, right? I want to hear Lawrence do something, right? Like, but here goes the thing. I want to thank you guys all, guys and ladies, right? Be proper, all for coming on to, to the podcast. This was good. Like, I'm so excited. I got notes and stuff. And, we need to do this again and bring this back together because this conversation needs to continue on and, and have some more like solutions where we come in one time, we define a problem today, but now let's just talk about solutions and then we can debate the solutions, right? Mm-hmm. So thank you so much. I want to give everybody an opportunity also to say where people can reach you at. I'm looking at my screen, so I'll come right across from left to right. So Lawrence, tell everybody where they can reach you at if they want to get in contact with you. And I'll start with Lawrence, then I'll go to Jessica, then Addrisa, and then Terrance. Lawrence, what you got? Where can people find you at?
Dundada33 on Instagram.
Dundada33 on Instagram. LD, how long have you had that handle on your online virtual world? Come on, LD.
My go-to, man.
At least 20 years.
At least 20 years, bro. Like all right, Jessica, where can they find you at?
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm blessed to be here. You can find me on Instagram at @TheTechBarbie. Also, I'm building a networking and relationship management app called Click, CLIQQ. And if you want to join my mailing list for the beta, you can do so at Click, CLIQQ app, podcast.com. Just enter your email address and I will be right there ready for you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Addrisa, where can they find you at?
Right here when we do this again. I'm not sure I want to be found yet. So I like you guys so far. Let's just stick here. We'll see.
All right, that's perfect. Look at that. That's a different perspective. I like it. We respect that. We love it. Terrance, do you want to be found?
Yeah, you can reach me on Instagram at Terrance29. Also my podcast, you can reach me at iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Anchor too as well.
Awesome.
Hey, Chris, Terrance just reminded me, like, bro, we're not on iHeartRadio yet. Like, what are we doing?
I know. We got to step up our game. No,
sorry.
I know.
Yeah.
We got to step up our game.
Yeah.
Terrance is major in this game, so we're not there yet. We'll get
Oh, dang, man. I'm trying to, Terrance, we got some conversations to have, man. It's different conversations. Well, good. Excellent, man. Chris, you want to say your final words, man?
Absolutely, guys. We appreciate you. And for everyone listening, again, feel free to hit up T and I, hit up all the guests that are here, because we just want you to continue to grow your perspective, right? Let's just have the conversation. Let's just start the talk, because that's what's really going to help. So until next week, guys, we're signing off for the Perspective Podcast. Hit them, T.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. There it is.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care, guys. Have a great one.
Bye.